Welcome to the Droid You Are Looking For podcast. This week we're going to do our very first top 10. We've been kicking around the idea for a while, and maybe it's time to actually do it. So after doing a quick compiling and asking around from all the admins, we've compiled our very own top 10 list of PlayStation games or even Xbox games, Nintendo games, Sega games, or even PC games that we want remastered on the new consoles. And with that said, let's get started, because I'm actually interested in what's going to turn out to be the number one.
The Droid You Are Looking For Top 10 Countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Number 10. Mass Effect franchise.
You begin to wonder, why is this even on the top 10 list? Especially being as which that this has been on a previous console for the Xbox and then later released onto the PlayStation 3. However, the original two copies of Mass Effect needed a lot of development, and everything wasn't officially fixed 110% until Mass Effect 3. However, Mass Effect 3 fell on hard times because a lot of the gamers did not enjoy the ending. Even with the additional downloadable content, there was still an uproar in people's opinions on Mass Effect 3. What can fix this? Well, go back to basics. Revolutionize the control scheme for the original 2 that was corrected in Mass Effect 3, and then correct the ending for Mass Effect 3 itself. But Shepard will live another day, so stay tuned, because I am sure with the Xbox One on the rise, you will find another Mass Effect.
Number 9. Metal Gear franchise.
Snake sneaks in at number 9. Now you begin to wonder yourself, how is he number 9? This being a very iconic character over the years is just making this list. Understandably though, Snake was not always popular until he got to the PlayStation back in the late 90s on Metal Gear Solid. However, with Kojima's recent release of Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes and the acclaim and negative feedback that has been received due to the length of the game, I believe this franchise should be redone. I believe that we should have a remastered versions of the first Nintendo games and put into more of a realistic version away from the 8-byte, and as well as remaster the first 3 games that came thereafter. There was a remade made back on the GameCube, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes by Silicon Knights, and it was very well done. However, it was only a GameCube and was never ported to anything else. Where you can make a quick buck? Well, Kojima's all about that because he just shorted a lot of people $40 on a demo. So why not revisit and remaster the system and remaster the entire franchise all in one shot?
Number 8. Golden Axe.
Golden Axe, such a gem on the Nintendo and arcade machines if we remember that far back. It was one of my personal favorite games that came out in my early years to be exact. Now, there was a remake made, but I'm going to say loosely based remake that was made for the PlayStation 3. It was so horrible that it probably will end up in the landfill with all those AT cartridges. Now, why should we remake this game? This game was a lot of fun. It was pretty basic too. All you needed to do, you had a warrior, you had the elf, and you had the female warrior, or whatever you want to call her, and you had the button mashing fun. That's all you really need nowadays. And really, on the next gen console, think about how awesome that would be playing Golden Axe, especially all the additional options you could throw into that game. It would be pretty badass, and I think someone should shell out some cash to make this game happen.
Number 7. Silent Hill 2.
Now you begin to wonder, Silent Hill 2? That's pretty random, being as which there's about 6 or 7 different Silent Hill video games. However, the only 2 video games that's ever made an impact on the entire franchise would be Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2. This game thrives on the survival horror genre, which has lost its nostalgia as of late, and any horror video game that does exist normally bases around zombies, and it's all first-person shooters. Look at the evolution of Resident Evil. Used to be horror survival video game, now is an over-the-shoulder zombie fighting video game. However, Silent Hill is always going to be different from the rest. It does encompass on your emotions and will freak you out every chance it can find. But the Silent Hill franchise fell apart. After Silent Hill 2, the additional sequels Silent Hill 3, Silent Hill 4 The Room, Homecoming, and so forth did not live up to the expectations or the bar that was set by the original 2. However, Silent Hill 2 was the one that really got to you. It pulled on your heartstrings, and you found yourself freaking out when you're playing as James. The ending of the game ends up really questioning yourself on what kind of person you truly are. This game needs to be remastered. The storyline was perfect, the control scheme was great, and you found yourself greatly immersed into it. If I had to choose, this would be the game that Capcom definitely needs to redo. And with that, Silent Hill 2 has got my thumbs up.
Number 6. Double Dragon.
Imagine that you're just walking around with your girlfriend and some motherfucker just comes up and hoofs her one in the fucking gut. The fucking gut. Tell me how crazy that is. And then you and your brother basically team up and beat the living shit of piles of guys. Ranging from street thugs to chicks with whips to Boba, the big giant fucking Boba. And hopefully ranging to a horrible video game movie with Mark Dacascos. I mean, realistically, this is a fantastic video game, and it'll constantly receive massive achievements for what it's become. However, let's be honest here, Double Dragon's kind of fallen through the crack over the last few years, and really, with the technology that's gotten, why can't we get a beat 'em up? Oh, beat 'em ups fell apart on the next console? Fuck it! Let's bring back beat 'em ups! Let's make it fun again! Yeah, Double Dragon would be the first of all games that should be brought back as a beat 'em up, because you wanna know why? It was the best one.
Number 5. Castlevania.
What can you say about a franchise that is legendary but kinda has fallen off the radar over the years? Yes, there's been many multiple versions of Castlevania. However, nothing will ever beat the original Castlevania that came out on the Nintendo. And as well, that's a little bit of a lie. Super Castlevania on the Super Nintendo was pretty badass too. But I mean, if you really think about it though, all the other games have kind of fallen off the side. What would make this successful? Well, does it have to be a side-scroller? Unfortunately, yes. That's what made Castlevania Castlevania. But go back, let's just remake the original. There's been so many fabricated storylines of Castlevania, just remaking the first one will be all sweet, and that's what we want. So, you know what, Nintendo, if you're listening, remake the first one.
Number 4. Soul Calibur.
Where did this game go? This was such a great game, and only a couple years ago, maybe 5 to be exact, was this game came out on all the different platforms with all different unique characters for it. Now that's badass. Understanding that this game was originally known as Soul Edge, which then became Soul Calibur, this game needs to come back and needs to be a part of the next-gen consoles. You want to know why? It would be amazing. The fighting styles, the graphics, the detail, the music would be uplifting. It would be perfect. And you know what? Of all fighting games that are out right now, and this actually does include Street Fighter, and it also does include Mortal Kombat, DC Justice Among Us, all of that. Soul Calibur is badass, and it actually is a lot better. It introduced sword fighting, it introduced combo system. Everything, basically, anything that's a video game right now that has any part of being a fighting video game pulls its essence from Soul Calibur, and with that, we need another Soul Calibur. So you know what? Make it happen.
Number 3. Resident Evil 3. Stars.
That's right. The most scary voice you can ever hear in your fucking life would be the giant 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, whatever the fuck size it was, Nemesis. Not only did you have to kill it, and what I mean by have to, there's no way out of it. You have to put him down. You cannot go past in this game. This is not like any other fucking game. You can just run into another room and be like, oh, he won't be there later. No, he will run after you, motherfucker. He will tear down fucking doors and he will fucking have his way with you. Trust me, I know. I ran from him multiple times. And that's what makes Resident Evil 3 the best Resident Evil to date. I know everyone likes Resident Evil 1 and there was a remake on the GameCube, but you know what? And Resident Evil 2, that was a huge video game. It had 4 different storylines. But Resident Evil 3 is the actual one that scared the living shit out of you to the point you never slept that night. And then when you saw Resident Evil 2 the movie, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. Now imagine if he was real. I don't want to imagine that world with him in it. No, I don't want to imagine Nemesis in this life. But you know what? In the next gen consoles, maybe Resident Evil can make a real Resident Evil video game. It has been a long time since Resident Evil 3, and that was the last survival horror video game, in my opinion, that they've ever made. So, hopefully, PlayStation, Konami, or whoever makes Resident Evil nowadays, Capcom actually, sorry, take note, make the game scary, make me a happy person.
Number 2. Legend of Zelda.
Uh-oh, this is not number 1? Oh, I gotta be sweating now. Gotta know what number 1 is. Legend of Zelda, and there's been so many issues with the Legend of Zelda universe, we don't even know where to start. They've changed the storyline around here and there. They've added new characters in that are not fan favorites, especially the little midget floater thing, Majig. They changed textile design. They have changed around the platform. They have done everything that you can possibly do to a video game that you should not do, Nintendo has done. Now, the only successful, in my opinion, Legend of Zelda game was Ocarina of Time, which is the one that it's very renowned for on the N64. However, since the technology is so far advanced and Nintendo's bleeding money anyways, why don't we just remaster the original Legend of Zelda top scroller and turn it into a full mastered video game? Mind equals blown, doesn't it? I mean, all we keep doing is adding more and more stuff to this storyline, like Twilight Princess and werewolves and midgets. How about we just remaster the original one, bring in the new audience, and then maybe Nintendo can make some money for a change instead of losing it all the time? I don't know. Makes sense to me, and quite honestly, if you're going to put it on the Wii, you're not going to make any money, buddy. You're going to need to make a better console if you want people to start playing your video games. Oh, that's a pretty exciting top 10 list already, so we're going to go over the top 9 that I've gone through already. Before I do, though, keep in mind our list will always be different from yours, so if you have something you want to add to the list, of course, just give us a message on Facebook.com, the Droid you are looking for, Canada, and when we do our next top 10, if it's relevant to the top 10, we'll put it on there. Constantly putting Italian Spider-Man on the top 10 list will not get you anywhere. If those people who are listening, they know who they are. So first off, number 10 belongs to Mass Effect. Number 9 belongs to Metal Gear. Number 8 belongs to Golden Axe. Number 7, Silent Hill 2. Number 6, Double Dragon. Number 5, Castlevania. Number 4, Soul Calibur. Number 3, Resident Evil 3. Number 2 belongs to Legend of Zelda. And finally, number 1.
Get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Number 1. Final Fantasy 7.
Are you truly surprised that this is number 1? Because quite honestly, I'm not. This is the most griped about video game in the history of video games. Short of Duke Nukem's taking forever to make a video game and finally made it a piece of shit, to Wolfenstein's constant repeats and remakes that are not good at all, Final Fantasy VII embodies on what an RPG gamer is. Understandably, of course, that the franchise was built by the earlier games that came out on Nintendo and Super Nintendo. However, Final Fantasy VII is the game to really grab the audience and make it an emotional tearjerker, i.e. the death of Arius. Now, we've been wanting a sequel, if not remake, of Final Fantasy VII for a very long time now, but ultimately, that has not happened. It was quoted once a long time ago that they would only remake Final Fantasy VII if one of the Final Fantasy series video games make the same amount, if not more, than Final Fantasy VII. There is yet to be a game that clearly was anywhere near the title. Now, what needs to happen at this point? Squaresoft, Square Enix, or whatever name Square wants to call itself this week, needs to remake Final Fantasy VII. All the other Final Fantasies after 9 has fallen short, and quite honestly, Final Fantasy Online is quite a bore. There's a lot of glitches, and a lot of the gamers are finding themselves not wanting to play the Final Fantasy franchise anymore. So if you're listening, Squaresoft, Square Enix, Square something, Square another, please make sure that on our Christmas wish list for 2014, that you come out and announce that you're going to remake Final Fantasy VII, and you're going to make everyone's Christmas a very, very happy one.
Game over, man! It's game over!
Thanks for listening to the Droid You Are Looking For podcast. Stay tuned for next week's podcast.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.